you have this professor who had written an article in 1988 when he was still working at Brunel University, also in the UK. And much of what he wrote was lifted from some other people's work written in 1983 by an American student and 2 Israeli academics. So the work was written in 83, he wrote his in 88, but this issue came up a lot later, many years when he was already a professor. Also in his PhD thesis, which he earned from York University, also in the UK, the introduction was very identical to articles by another American academic. So he copied other people's work without attributing. And this was discovered. He was already a professor, he was even a dean, but he was shamed out of the university because of that. Much later, this happened about 20 years after that, after the copying, and maybe he was aware or he was not aware, but it was a shame. The last case, which is very similar, and it's more than around 2002, and this was the vice chancellor of Australia's biggest university. He had to step aside when this plagiarism allegation came up. He had written a book in 1976, comparing 1976 to 2002 when this came up. So because of the prayer, according to him, because of the prayer, he didn't adequately acknowledge other people's work in the book. He also wrote another book later where they could identify 20 sentences directly quoted from another book, and he did not acknowledge those sources. And this became a problem to him. He was investigated, even while he was a vice chancellor, and was asked to leave because of the problem of plagiarism. So this is clearly not a good thing. And I would conclude by saying plagiarism can kill your career. It can kill one's career. We need to avoid it. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Adegun, for that very enlightening and...
Over to you.
I've already taken over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that very enlightening presentation. You know, while he was speaking, a lot of things were just going on in my mind. I know as early career, many of us, you don't even know the laws that are there in your institution regarding this plagiarism. So the examples he just cited, they are not just particular to those institutions. I think I will advise that when you go back, you also get to know what guideline your institution have regarding this plagiarism of a thing, because it's a very serious issue, something that can destroy your career, something that can destroy the image you have put in so much to build. And mind you, with the internet availability now, it has changed the narrative. Something you can, a small offense you can commit in your little corner in a matter of a minute could spread around the globe. So you can't hide anywhere. So it's very important we take this issue seriously. So without taking our time, this is the moment we've been waiting for, the interactive section, where we can now ask our questions. I don't know if there are hands that are already up, but before we take those hands, I think we already have some questions in the chat box. Okay, I will take the very first question here. That is from Kufre Abasi. The question he's asking, one, for students who do not have money to register with top plagiarism checking software, how do they bypass plagiarism? That is his first question. He also have another question. Some free software will tell one 10%, while the other 25%. How does one work around these tools with diverse outputs for effective results? Our panelists, please, I hope you're taking note of the question. Then the final question from him is, could you suggest helpful software for plagiarism checks? That is from Kufre Abasi. I don't know if any of our panelists will want to attend to his question before we give those raising their hands the opportunity to speak. Okay. I think our second speaker.
Yes, can I?
Okay, please go ahead. Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you for the questions. The first question say that for students who do not have money to register with top plagiarism checking software, how do they bypass? Okay, I will discourage bypassing. Okay, I will encourage you send your material, your manuscript to a collaborator abroad to help you check with using a software. You don't have money, but you don't have money to check here, but maybe your friend, maybe a mentor, a collaborator, could have access. Maybe their university had registered for this, they have institutional registration. You can do that, okay? But I wouldn't encourage that you bypass. I don't know the meaning of bypass, but you don't need to bypass anything. Just do the right thing. Thank you. The second question, for free software, some free software will say 10% plagiarism, or yes, this is common. This is common. Some anti-plagiarism software could pick 10%, another could pick 20%. However, is the feature, the particular feature that this anti-plagiarism software picks, okay? Some picks repetition of a particular sentence and some things. So there are certain features. But of course, from experience, I will advise Turnitin, I will advise Authenticate, and some others, okay? Now, the third question said, sir, could you suggest helpful, okay, which I've done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, I will take one more question from the chat box before I give the hand up opportunity to speak. Sorry, I'm trying to get the question. Okay, this is from Belu, Mr. Belu. The question is, do journals check manuscripts submitted for plagiarism before publishing? Also, can an article fail a plagiarism check on a particular software and pass on another? All right, so please, any of our panelists, or permit me to call on...
I can take that.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, these days, most journals do check for plagiarism level in manuscripts, even before they send it out to reviewers. That's more or less the standard practice for journals that are well set up. And it's not so much a question of pass or fail as such, but of the threshold. Because what happens is that each journal has its own policy. Okay, maybe your
I think we lost him. Is it from my end?
So if your content is so similar with unreferenced portions, and you exceed the threshold, then it will be flagged and you'll be told if you need to tone it down or if they're going to reject it outright, depending on the extent. So most journals do check for plagiarism. Please, what's the other part of the question?
Say, can an article fail a plagiarism check on a particular software and pass on another?
Yes, even the other speaker has alluded to that, because as we've said, these things are based on thresholds and the extent and capability of each software. But the important thing to look out for is the highlighted portion. What is detected? This is something that really matters, because at times too, some of these checkers may flag something that is not really your recipe editor to the reviewer. You can also make a case that, look, what's being classified as plagiarism is not really plagiarism. This is standard material. This is known and quoted by everyone, and so on and so forth. So you can also make a case, but it's the threshold that matters. The moment you see what is highlighted, check whether you really have used someone's material, either deliberately or inadvertently, without citing it, and make proper referencing. But if you think you have a case, you can always, defend yourself. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. I think before we continue to take questions from the chat box, let's give the hand up the opportunity to speak. This is an interactive session. You are free to put your hand up and ask your questions directly. So let's have Endurance. Uzobo, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Whether it's a question, contribution, please unmute yourself and speak. Endurance.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to appreciate all the prof for their wonderful presentation. However, I have certain questions which I've been dying to ask even before this program came up. I have about 5 of them. I'll start with the last one.
Wow.
The first question I want to ask is, before most of us got the knowledge about this plagiarism, and we are even learning new things from what the profs have given so far, we had already published out of ignorance. So we still have people have papers that are out there that did not follow the rule of ensuring that we adhere to the plagiarism rule. So we have such papers. What do we do to those papers? And that's the step we can take to retrieve those papers, because they're already out there. What do we do to them? Because obviously they are not meeting the standard. So what do we do to those papers? That's question 1. Question 2, it's what should be the limitation of citation? From my experience or observation, since they say plagiarism, people just keep copying different persons' work and they cite it. And at the end of the whole paper, you discover they have little or no contribution to the paper they claim to be writing. However, they've made their citations properly. So shouldn't there be a limitation to citation because you want to beat plagiarism, or because you want to keep to the rule of plagiarism? Then the next question is it possible for us to use a previous chapter or an article? Probably we want to write a book and we had a chapter that might be very relevant to the book we want to write. Can we use the chapter? If yes, what are the processes we are supposed to follow in using the chapter to be part of the book that we want to write? Then the next question, that's the 4th one, is I heard the prof talking about predatory journals, and he mentioned that they don't follow the review process. So I want to ask, is it only the review process that makes an article to be a predatory journal? That is, if the journal rather doesn't follow the review process, is that the only thing that makes it a predatory journal, or there are other criteria? If there are other ones, I think you should also let us know. Then finally is the issue of self-plagiarism, we've also discovered that a whole lot of persons just take different of their materials and form different articles. I've seen that severally. You see people that are writing articles, they just pick different of their materials and nothing is new. If you check the whole content of the article, you discover that it's different aspect of their material they just use in forming different journals. So what should be the extent of self-plagiarism? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Endurance, for that loaded questions. Please, I'll give the panelist opportunity to attend to his questions now. I just want to leave it free for the panelists. I don't want to maybe assign questions to you. Anyone, you just feel free, you want to answer, please.
Maybe I can take a few, and I know my other colleagues would address any gaps I'm leaving behind. But before I address the question by Endurance, I think Endurance came prepared, which is good. He had 5 questions. It just sounds like what we give in exams, but it's really interesting. I want to highlight the limitation of software. I know there have been a couple of questions about softwares. I think softwares are good, but they have their obvious limitations because it works based on what you have online. So if you plagiarize from a book that is not available online, the software would never pick it, and then someone else may pick it. So we need to understand that you don't over rely on softwares to think I've written it's 9%, it's 10%. Just be as safe as much as possible. I think that's what I would say, because softwares have their own limitations. So let me just take a few of the questions. There is a question about already plagiarized articles, maybe articles you feel, oh, I just wrote this when I was still learning, and there are obvious issues. I'm aware that some journals, like I said, it depends on the entity you are dealing with, but I'm aware that some journals would allow you to self-retract your work. So if after some time you feel this is wrong, some journals will allow you to write yourself and say, for this reason, I want to retract this article. They would have a policy to do that. So I think it's good if really they allow that and anyone wants to do that, because you're already disowning that work before someone comes to use it against you in future. And if it's already self-retracted, it's disowned, I'm not sure the kind of punitive measure or consequences wouldn't be as when that has not been disowned. So I know it's possible to do that. And depending on the policy of the journal, if there is no policy, it would be best to seek counsel first, so you don't just do something in an easy way that would lead to something bad. Seek counsel from senior scholars with integrity, and then you can also write the editors depending on the context. But like I said, the different policies and guidelines are specific to different entities. I would speak about the use of your previous work in a book. I think that is allowed, but you need to seek for permission. So if you've written, maybe from your thesis, you already wrote 2 journal articles, and after a few years, you want to write a book from the thesis, and you will be drawing substantially from your thesis and from what you reproduce with permission, because you would then have to acknowledge that this work has been earlier published in this place. But it's still based on their policy. Read their policy. If it's not clear, write the editors. I'm writing a book, consult the publishers as well, because they may also have policies on reproducing your own previous work. But I've seen people do that, and they would generally acknowledge that, like, a substantial part of this chapter came from my thesis, which had been published in X and Y, and they put that as a, but the attribution matters, and that would depend on the context. The issue of citation, maybe I'll just address the issue of citation. I'll leave the rest to my colleagues to speak to. The issue of citation, yes, of course, you find people who oversight, permit me to use that word. But maybe it's the other extreme of plagiarism. People who oversight, of course, that should also be, editors and reviewers pick on that. And would say, this is really not necessary. That is really not useful here. So it's good, it's necessary to avoid it, but the extreme is not to which could amount to plagiarism. Yeah, so we need to keep the balance. I think that's what I would end with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think you've been able to address all his questions. Am I correct? Is there any of his questions that is not attended to? I think you've been able to address.
Okay.
Okay, the issue of predatory journals. I know Professor Ade Fergus spoke about it, so maybe you might want to address that question on the review process and maybe self-plagiarism as well. I didn't address those two.
Okay. So Dr. Stephen, please.
All right. As regards predatory journals, I was trying to say that predatory journals survive on plagiarized material. Why? Because they actually want to publish right just as it is submitted. They want to publish as soon as possible without going through the review process. That's not the reason, that's not the only reason why they are predatory. That's not the reason why we call them predatory journals. One of the reasons is that they are interests. They have monetary interests. They are interested in monetary gain, and that's the reason why they can charge a lot of article processing fee, you know, and of course they don't have a coordinated editorial board. So one of the ways to dictate them is checking through their editorial board. You need to be sure that it's not only one person in Alaba in Lagos that has organized that journal. It could just be one person. Okay, so and that's the reason why we need to be very careful. You know, they want articles submitted and published. That's what they just say. We'll submit today, and you get acceptance letter in 2 or 3 days. So no rigorous peer review process. Now I want to say something about the peer review process. You know, most times when you write an article, you know, and the article is novel, because of the novelty of the article, even though the author has not written the article very well, the editor is interested in the work. The editor says, okay, author, take back this article, rewrite it. The author returns the article after rewriting, and the editor says that, see, I'm interested in this article, but it has not measured up to the standard of a journal, of the reputation of the journal. So that is what we are talking about. In predatory journals, they don't do that. They don't want to, quality is dumped in the dustbin. So these are some of the reasons why you call them predatory journals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc, for that. I also want to chip in this, you know, for early career, maybe graduate students too, it may not be easy for you to begin to publish in those high impact factor journals immediately, Elsevier, Springer, them. I always advise my students, instead of going for all those backyard journals, why don't you start with your faculty departmental journals? At least those ones you're sure of who the publishers are and you're sure of the quality. By the time they review your article 1 or 2 times and be able to publish, then subsequently you can give those high impact factor journals a trial. So start from the known, the ones you are sure of their quality, instead of going to all those backyard journals. So our time is fast spent, and we don't want to leave any question unattended. We are trying as much as we can to make sure that all questions are attended to before our time is up. I can see 2 hands up, but before then, let's take a question from the chat box so we don't leave any side unattended. Okay, this question from Mercy, I think they've already, our panelists have answered that while attending to other people's question. You're asking, how can one correct an article that have been published which the author realized might have more than the acceptable plagiarism index? I think that has been discussed. Then from Helen, how can someone do a personal check before sending to the department in case you are running a program? Which is the best anti-plagiarism software? Is there any best? I think our panelists have mentioned a lot of them that are good that we can use. I don't think there's one that is tagged as best, but we have some that are good. Or does any of the panelists want to say something on that too? Okay, so we can go ahead. From Fabi, if words are written verbatim from a book and is cited according to the citation from the book, would it be regarded as plagiarism? Please, can any of the panelists attend to that?
No, so far it's cited. So
right.
I think so far it's cited, it wouldn't be plagiarism, properly cited.
Yeah, thank you very much. What should be the standard percentage of similarity index? What is the acceptable percentage? Maybe for journals, for institutions. I know institutions, they have different percentages for doctorate program, for master's program, for undergraduates. So please, can any of our panelists speak to that question? What should be the standard percentage of similarity index?
Okay, I'll suggest you strive to get below 10%, if possible, less than 7%. The fact of the matter is, if you really do the work by yourself and you actually write it and you try as much as possible to cite, or to reference whatever you are getting from somebody else, there is no way you're going to have a high similarity index. Most times I don't even use this plagiarism checkers unless it's a work, I author with some of my students. That's where I have fear and we say, okay, send it to Turnitin or send it to something and get us the report. But most stuff I write myself, I don't even, pass it through because I know that I sit down and write this thing by myself. And when I do my literature review, I make sure that, I reference all the papers consulted. And I know my style is somehow unique to me that I don't really have that kind of problem. But when you collaborate with people, especially young people coming up in academia, then send it out and continue to revise until you get to as low as 15–10%. That's my advice.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Okay, let's take a hand up. Can we hear from Anwuli Odieka? Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Anwuli, unmute yourself and ask your question. Please just go straight to the point so we'll be able to attend to all the questions before our time is up. Anwuli, can you ask your question, please? You have the floor now. Okay, while we're waiting for her, can we take the next hand up, Kufre Abasi? Can you unmute yourself and speak? Kufre Abasi, please unmute yourself and speak. Not still talking. Can we take the next person, Omoju? Please unmute yourself and speak. What's happening?
Dr. Oluwasola Omoju, please unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself
Ask your
and speak.
question. Oluwasola Omoju, you have the floor now.
Okay, I think
Right.
the host is supposed to unmute us first before we're able to unmute ourselves. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank the presenter. I think I just want to raise a very important issue. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, I think I just want to raise an important issue with respect to this plagiarism, particularly in the use of the software. We need to actually understand what exactly are these softwares actually picking. That is very important. I have an example. During my PhD thesis in China, I think one of the procedure, I think at some point they have to run your thesis through, I don't even know which of the software they use. Then for my thesis, it picked 25%. And then they called me to look at it. And funny enough, when I look at them, I don't agree that, in fact, at the end of the day, they accepted. I did not agree that those things were plagiarized because the software was just picking like some commonly used terms in that field. I'm an energy economist. The software was just picking, if I write energy consumption, carbon emission, anthropogenic climate change, the software will pick it. So when I brought this to their attention, like these are just normal words. I can't change them. These are the words that are used in the field. So they have to agree. So we just need to pay attention to exactly what the software is actually picking, because the software can tell you 30%. But at the end of the day, you actually still need, an human being still need to look at what exactly is going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Omoju, for that contribution. Thank you. Can we have the next hand that is up? I think the host, please help us to unmute Dr. Dauda Aken. Can you please unmute him to speak?
Okay, thank you so much. Hello? Am I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a contribution and follow up to what is just being said. I think that is the reason no institution or journal is requesting for the point of some regular words. Even sometimes P less than 0.05 will be picked. At less of university will be picked. That's why what I've seen recently, an average journal we take less than 25%, not 7, not 5, really. And universities as well, even in Nigeria, universities as well, I think the worst I've seen, I think is about, is it 20%? Nobody is even taking 15 or 10 or thereabout. Because some of these things are expected. They are words that we continue to use. And as long as they are not substantial, then it's not a problem. And that's why nobody will tell you 0%. There is still a percentage that should cover those common words. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, that's why it's also good when you have the plagiarism checker, when you run your work through them, you actually take time to look at the report, because they give you this report and highlight all those words that make up the percentage. So when you look at them, it will tell you whether you actually plagiarize or it has picked those frequently used words. So I think the report helps you take care of all of that. Can we please have Anwole, please unmute her. She was the first to put her hand up. Unmute her, please. Let's have her contribution. Anwole, are you still there? Please go ahead. You can speak now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Contribution? Yes, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I just need an advice from the prof. I have a review paper already published, but now I am writing the literature review of my thesis. Now, should I just copy what I have in the published review, the information I have in the published review, to my literature review for my thesis? Or if I should copy, I should also cite myself? What do I do?
Thank you for the question. Our panelists, please, can any of you attend to her question?
Okay, I want to attempt the question now. I think what you are going, if you do that, what you are doing is what we call self-plagiarism. And this is still unacceptable. I will advise that you do accurate paraphrasing. Okay, you are written, yes, I will advise you do accurate paraphrasing while writing the literature review or the introduction of your thesis. Thank you. Don't copy verbatim.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Maybe I can add something, which, sorry, is a bit different from what Professor Adefega said. I think it's possible to use that review paper as your literature review chapter, but you need to acknowledge it. Because I know in some institutions where you write, you earn your PhD, your degree by publications. So some chapters are standalone articles. So you could have your chapter 1 as introduction, chapter 2 maybe a published literature review, chapter 3 could be one publication. Number 1, you don't use the camera-ready version in the thesis. You just use your manuscript, but you acknowledge somewhere in the beginning that chapter 1 has been published in this, but it is still your work. So that is possible. But I think it might also be subject to what your institution allows. Your institution might say, go and paraphrase. Your institution might say, you can use it as it is so far you acknowledge. So there is no one size answer to it. It might depend on your context, but it's possible to use it as it is with appropriate acknowledgement. Yeah, that's my perspective on that.
Thank you very much, Doug. I think that's suggestion is very important. We need to know what is acceptable in our institution, because what is acceptable for us in our own institution may not be acceptable in another institution. So we need to really understand and study the guideline in our different institutions. Let's have this contribution from Ezekiel Abraham. He said, this presentation is timely and important. It should be revisited from time to time. Importantly, universities should design a course on plagiarism to guide category of students. Thank you. I think I like that last sentence. Maybe some of these general courses that we do, I know some institutions are already adding it, maybe not as a full course, but as a module in some of these general courses because of the importance. So it's something we can also take home. Our universities should design a course on plagiarism to guide category of students. The next question on the chart, I'm trying to look at the questions to be sure we've attended to all. Okay, I'm just seeing commendations from our participants, thanking our panelists for the insightful and beautiful presentations and timely presentation. Okay, this one says, learned that inclusion of reference during plagiarism test gives high similarity index. How true is it? Please, can any of our panelists quickly say something to that question? Learned that inclusion of reference during plagiarism test gives high similarity index. How true is this?
Yeah, I think it does. So it's best to avoid putting in references when you running it through the checks, because it would pick them. So it's avoid the references and maybe some other preambles that could be picked.
All right. Thank you very much. We have a question. Oh, we have a 300 level student attending this program. This program is actually targeted at early career graduate student, final year student, but that's good. You are starting well, and you're asking us how you can start your research writing journey at this level. We can say you just keep learning until you get to your final year. You just keep learning, attending some of these programs that will enlighten you on what research is all about. By the time you get to final year, you will be more equipped to attend to your research project. Okay, I think we've taken all the questions in the chat box. So can we have Kazim, please host or mute Kazim. Let's take him and Kufre, then we end the program. Our time is almost up. We just have 7 minutes to go. Please host or mute Kazim Ibrahim. Please, let's have him speak. Can you please unmute him? Unmute Kazim Ibrahim and Kufre Abasi, please, so they ask their question or make their contribution before we close the program.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I don't know if you can hear me, please.
Yes, go ahead, go ahead. We can hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to really appreciate the organizers and the presenters. It's been a wonderful and insightful section with everyone. However, I want to say, add a few contributions. Publishing in or with high impact journals like Nature and Elsevier, Springer, and the like, I think it's not really a difficult task if only a researcher is ready to commit to the work. There are parts of the journals that would actually accept your work without making any financial commitments, so long as you're ready to spend time in doing work that can actually create impact. And also, I'm a bit concerned about the question that someone asked about copying and pasting, copying exact words the way it is from the original article and referencing. From my own view, from knowledge, I was actually trained that that is plagiarism. I don't know what, except otherwise. I was trained that when you copy exact words without paraphrasing into your own word, it is also seen as plagiarism. And after my first publication, or in the course of my first publication, I went through a series of comments from reviewers. And at some point I was asking, why are these reviewers doing me like this? But I understood it was part of the training I needed to go through. And I took time, I took months and weeks to go through all the reviewers' comments one by one. Sometimes I would have to go and ask myself, where is this reviewer from? I noticed some of them were from different countries, different parts of the world, but they gave very, very salient points to the work, which I committed to it and got it done at the end. So I think if one is committed, you can actually publish in high impact journals if you are ready to do a dedicated work. And that aspect of plagiarism, please, I feel if you copy, it's plagiarism. It doesn't matter if you reference or cite the person. If you don't paraphrase it properly, I think it is plagiarism. I don't know. I would also need clarification on that, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kufre. I think our panelists have spoken about that. You need to paraphrase. You don't copy into word to word. It's plagiarism. You need to paraphrase. Then, you know, while we talk about people maybe starting from maybe your faculty, your department, we have undergraduate students here, and you will agree with me that it will be difficult. It will not be easy for an undergraduate to just begin to publish with Springer and all of that. So sometimes when they try that, they get a lot of frustrations. So it's good. Learning is a process. You start from step 1, get to 2, then you get to 3. If you want to jump step 1, 2, 3, and just get to 5, it may be frustrating, and at the end of the day, you may even lack the motivation to continue. So for our final year undergraduate students, you can start from your faculty, your department, those journals, learn from the reviewers there, then you progress from there. Before you get to your doctorate, you'll be able to publish in any journal across the globe. Thank you. Let's have the final comment, final one from Kazim. Please unmute him and let him speak. Host, please unmute Kazim Lawal Ibrahim. Can you please quickly unmute him?
Yes, he can unmute himself. It's like it's not there.
All right. All right. Okay. It's like it's not there. So before we
moderator, just one comment, please, before we I just wanted to respond to
yes, we will give you opportunity to say something before we say a final goodbye.
Oh, okay.
To our audience. All right, so before we have 1 minute each from our panelists to give us their final word, please, I just want us to appreciate them. You can do it with a wave of hand, use the reaction, just do something. Let them know that they are appreciated for this wonderful interactive session. Yes, that's good. I can see it coming. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you, our professors, for the time spent here this evening. I can see it coming. Please let it come more. Appreciate them. Appreciate them. I want to see more. Just a wave of hand. Just use the emojis to appreciate them. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you, the panelists, for this very, very insightful interactive session this evening. So before we finally hang up, please let's have each of our panelists give us one final word. We'll start from Dr. Adegun, please. Can we have your final word in 2 minutes for the audience?
I'm not sure I would even spend 2 minutes, but just what I wanted to say was to Kufri Abasi, and also to just say the issue of discipline. Quoting a word, it's not in itself plagiarism. For example, if you're in the humanities and you are quoting historical works and you have to lift it. In fact, when it's more than 40 words, you indent, but you cite the source. So we need to be aware of what obtains in our disciplines, in our institutions, so that we can completely avoid plagiarism. We can be free from the cancer in our career. Yeah, thank you. And all the best to all of us.
Thank you. Be free from the cancer. Plagiarism is cancerous. Run away from it before it will destroy your reputation and your hard-earned work. Oh, thank you very much, Doctor, for that. Can we have our associate professor, please, give us your final word? Professor Adefaya, are you still there, please? Can we have some final word from you? Okay, can we take from Professor Asiolu? Please, can we have some final words for you?
Okay. Yeah. I just want to agree with the last remark that quotation is allowed depending on context and discipline, you know, because it generally depends on what you are referencing. Yes, it's always good to paraphrase, but there are instances where you just have to, you know, put something verbatim. The important thing is to acknowledge the source. My final word really is that once you know the meaning of research, it shouldn't be too difficult, that you are just researching, okay? You are going through what others have done before and trying to see where you can make your own addition or contribution to it, that is to knowledge. So cite what is your foundation and build on it. With that, everybody will be okay. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. Can we have finally have the chairman of the Talk to Your Professor Committee, give a vote of thanks and close this session. Our audience, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Dr. Akintayo, please, can we have you? Unmute yourself and speak. I can see you're on.
Thank you so much, my moderator. Our time is fast spent, and we thank God for the success of today. It's like this topic came to time, going by the contribution from the participants, apart from the panelists. And, you know, plagiarism is of concern in academia, and is liable to theft of intellectual property. And it's responsibility of every one of us, both students, researchers, and lecturers, to avoid this because of its lasting impact on our career. It taints our academic integrity, and it makes us to be substandard as a scholar. Please, there is no accidental plagiarism. If you are plagiarized, you plagiarize. Nothing is accidental in plagiarism. So please, because by the time you are facing the consequence, they won't allow or listen to you that it was accidental. So please, let's try to avoid it. And our panelists have given us a lot of tips on how to avoid it. But when Professor Adegu was talking, all those live examples he gave really serve as eye opener. And please, let's learn from other people's experience and what happened to them so that we will not be a victim. I want to thank everybody. In fact, I'm so happy this topic was discussed extensively and we made justice to it. Professor Ashaolu, thank you so much. I know your forthcoming inaugural is going to be top notch with what we have seen tonight. Thank you so much for doing justice to that topic. My dear brother, Associate Professor Nii Adefega, thank you so much. Thank you for making us to learn tonight from your wealth of experience. And all those points that you have reached is going to be evergreen in our memory. And we are going to put it to use in our career. Dr. Adegu, thank you so much. I really appreciate all those life experiences, all those life happenings. So that, because when you are running plagiarism, we thought it's just an hearsay, it's not something that is real. But bringing out those live examples really open our eyes to it. Thank you so much, my brother. I also want to thank the TTYP committee member from our dear moderator. We are going to recommend you for CNN one day. Thank you so much for that beautiful moderation. Our able secretary, Dr. Rotimi, thank you so much. Dr. Detokun, Dr. Aminu, I really appreciate you all. Without you people, we cannot achieve this. I cannot do it alone. Thank you for those selfless sacrifices, methane upon methane. Thank you so much. To NYAEC, under the able leadership of Dr. Howard, thank you so much for giving us an enabling platform to serve the academy. And to our dear participants, I know you have picked one or two things today, and it's going to be very useful to you in your career and your future endeavor. Thank you so much. And as we will be coming your way on the next edition, which will be the 6th edition of TTYP, we want to say bye for now. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Our audience, thank you. We are hanging. You can just unmute yourself, say thank you, give us a wave, and you can take your leave. Thank you, thank you. I hope you will be here for our next edition coming up in the next quarter. Thank you very much. We appreciate